Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Cipher System rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We're happy to have you with us on this journey of cosmic wonder. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living from the vast reaches of unknown space, are strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back with another episode in our Children of the Periphery tale, a Cipher System chronicle. So at the top of the show, what I'd like to do is thank you for listening and thank you for joining us, especially you Patreon supporters for supporting the show. You make so much of the magic possible for us to do, and we're really just happy to share with you another fun story. You can check us out on YouTube, and you can check us out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/theoldwaystwitch. Join us there for some fun stories to be seen as well as heard. And so now I'm going to turn it to my cast and have them introduce themselves. To my right.
Hi, this is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Kasra. Our pronouns are she, her, and Amara is a brash explorer who learns quickly. And we are back yet again in the place where I technically last saw one of my parents.
That's true. You are in your mother's footsteps. How appropriate. And next to Captain Kasra.
Hi, this is Rena. My pronouns are they, them, and I play Tamarisk Anvari, also they, them. Tamarisk is an empathic speaker who commands mental powers, and I can't wait to finally see what's on this station.
Yeah, we weren't here last time. You were recovering from a quite painful headache, and so you didn't get the opportunity to have all the fun that the rest of the crew had when they were here last time. Next to Tamarisk.
Hi, my name is Mare, and I play Cordelia Uren. Our pronouns are she, her, and Cordelia is a beneficent warrior who wears power armor. The power armor is locked and loaded and ready to go back onto the station that she was on the last time we were here.
Yeah. Everyone's going to be really, really happy that you're with them today, I promise. And next to Cordelia.
Hi, this is John. I'll be playing Fida. We both use he, him pronouns. Fida is a mechanical explorer who talks to machines, and there was an encounter with a plant, and Fida has been not really... Well, then he washed his arms in water on a planet that he's never been on before, so he doesn't know if that was a good idea. I'm sure that there'll be no surprises waiting for Fida, such as the fact that we're going back to the space station.
Not at all. Not at all. No surprises at all, except the fact that we are joined again by a special guest this week. So, guest...
Hi, this is Allie, and I am once again playing Kainat, who is an inquisitive adept who fuses mind and machine. And our pronouns are both she, her. And I'm just going to be chilling with Rakam.
Yeah, sure you are. We will raise our curtain tonight inside a quiet periphery. Now that we've gotten all that naming sorted out a few episodes ago, that's a little easier to say. So the periphery lands in the cargo bay of the signaling station. The crew opted to not use the standard umbilical connection on the outside of the station because of all the just super happy fun that they had last time trying to connect to it. The cargo bay itself is quiet, dark, and a little outside of sensors. It's a little hard to see what is out here from the bridge. Now, the periphery does have lights on the outside of it, and so it can pierce through some of that darkness to illuminate certain sections, but it is by no means full light in that space. So the crew previously had an opportunity to sort of gear up for what they were going to do, and so while they're staring out some of the windows and settling in to making sure that the ship is, winding down all of its engines, we're going to go to the medical bay, where Fida, you begin to filter back towards conscious space. You had a lot of strange dreams, strange feelings. The dreams come and go from your recollection as consciousness sort of filters back in. You had a dream about being chased by enormous birds, and you were running across a very rocky terrain, bereft of clothing, as these enormous birds were trying to pluck you as if you were a tasty grub. And each one of the birds had a human-ish face. Each one, maybe 4 or so in all. All the faces were members of the crew, and they were trying to rend you apart. And you spent a hurried few moments slipping from one rock face to the other, trying to skitter your way to safety. You finally do find safety in a pool of water, and you eventually lay motionless, floating at the top of the surface, becoming one with the water tension there. And then you wake up.
I think there's like a slow blink as he's just like, well, that was weird. When you spend all your time with the same handful of people, you're going to dream about them. It's just nature. So he's just like, oh, didn't know I felt that way about how some of them have been treating me. But, that's subconscious is a strange thing. Not too long ago, would have thought that was maybe a warning from a god. Anyway, so yeah, there's going to be an attempt to sit up.
Yeah, you can sit up. You see the digitized holographic form of Rakam appear. Oh, you're awake.
He kind of like experimentally is like his mouth feels dry and kind of tacky, and he's just like.
Rakam looks up and a series of devices descend from the ceiling, the medical robotics here that are in the room, and you see what looks like a small pistol-like device, and it's got a tube at the end of it, and it shoots water at you, probably like way too fast for you to be ready for it. Oh, sorry about that. It's still not calibrated correctly.
Big slab of a hand comes up to his face and pulls the water down, the ringlets, the little droplets in his beard, and he's just like, ugh. Thank you, Rakam. That's just what I needed, a shower to wake me.
Well, I've got good news.
Okay.
The good news is it looks like the cellular structure of your body has repulsed the poison. I don't know if it has to do with anything with your sort of warbles a little bit when he moves his arm markings, but they became pretty active while you were unconscious. And I think that they may have inhibited whatever that stuff was from getting in too deep.
Well, hopefully that's all they'll ever do, going forward at least.
Well, they're nanomachines, and so at least I think that's what they are.
Ida kind of looks at the hologram and he's like, you what now?
Nanomachines. They're a military development. Back on the other ship that I was a part of, there were some advanced technologies, including tiny machines that could help repair armor. It was mostly used in Class 3 Legionnaire armor. It's meant to rebuild the armor from ambient energy and other materials. It's like a gel, and it can be changed and moved under the right sort of electromagnetic frequency.
Neat. Very cool.
Yeah, completely and totally, prototype. Not very, isn't well tested, I would just put it that way. But if they work like nanomachines, then when they see something in the body that's not supposed to be there, they're like a white blood cell, except that they're on like steroids. And so they attack it.
And they've got little mech suits, right? Little power armor.
I mean, I don't know if mech suits is the way I would put it. I would think of them a little bit more like spiders.
Fida's face just goes completely ghostly pale, and he's just like, let's not continue this conversation any further. I don't want to get into the details of what you might say to me. Where are we?
We're not aboard the Nadir anymore. We're back at the signaling station. There's been some concern about a interspecies squabble that's going down on the planet between the bird people that you all saw and then that portal person, the Anyi.
As soon as he says bird people, Fida has flashbacks of his dream. And he's just like, ugh.
Evidently they're warring factions on the same surface. or roughly. I don't know all the details. I just sort of listened in a little bit when Kainat was talking. Oh, Kainat's awake.
That, as soon as when he first said Kainat was talking, he's just like, yeah, that's normal as hell. Wait.
It's a long story. She can fill you in, but that's where we just sort of settled, feels like. And the crew will be getting ready to head back out to a signaling station to figure out how to contact the people on the planet.
Okay. Looks down at him and says, I'm mostly dressed, right?
Yeah, I mean, no one took you out of your pants or anything.
Well, I'm going to go to my cabin and get on a fresh change of clothes, and then I'll... You can let the others know that I'm up if you like.
Yep, will do.
Okay.
Overhead in the bridge, there's an announcement. It's Rakam, and he says, Captain, I just want to advise you that Fida is awake.
Oh, good. Did you get him up to speed, Rakam?
I did what I could. You'll have to fill him in on the details. I think he had some troubling dreams.
Haven't we all?
No, Captain, I don't dream.
Thank you for that correction, Rakam. All right, well, did you tell him to come to the bridge or wherever we are? Or...
No, I don't give him orders. You do. That's your job.
Maybe I should make you Captain, Rakam. I call over to Fida. Amara to Fida.
Hey, Captain. I'm just getting a fresh change of clothes, and I'll be up on the bridge presently.
Wonderful. Glad to see that you're awake and doing well. You're just in time for an away mission to the space station.
Captain, if we're going in through the through that airlock again, I really got to suggest that we turn on the magnetic clamps in our boots before we depressurize an airlock from the outside, just to prevent, last time.
Well, we are in the docking bay.
Oh, so we're already in.
We're there. Yep.
Okay.
So gather your things. Bring a weapon.
He thinks of the thing we saw last time and the smaller reptile bunny things, and he's like, "Sure, yeah, no, that seems like a good idea." Anything in particular you want me to bring, or?
I don't know. I could really just use some coffee at this point.
He's like, "What about the coffee we had on the nadir?"
So we're looking for...
Rakam mentioned something about looking for stuff related to some kind of conflict down the planet between the bird people we saw in the distance and our previous guest.
The Onyi. Yep. So we want to see if we can communicate or utilize the Onyi travel, or the way they travel, which seems like they can...
The portal thing?
They have some great... Yeah, they've got some great portaling capability. So if we can find anything else over here, like something about my parents, or some water or food, or something, anything we can get.
There's just kind of a pause, and he's just like, "I will keep that in mind for, I'll bring a spare bag just in case we find stuff. There's got to be some kind of self-sustaining ecosystem there because there's enough things, even if they only had condensation. Anyway, yeah, I'll think about it. Find out. I'm just going to get dressed and come to the bridge."
Okay, good plan. All right. Amara out. I looked at everybody else. Did you guys hear that? Fida's on his way. We should probably wait.
I bet Fida was thrilled to find out where we're going.
He seemed like he was thrilled. That's just Fida, though. I mean...
Mm-hmm.
That's default state. Always thrilled. Kainat, you still staying on the ship with Rakam?
Yeah, no, I'll be staying on the ship.
All right. Everybody got everything they need? Shopping bags, grocery lists.
Like, as I recall, I no longer have a spacesuit.
Yes, that's true. You do not have a spacesuit.
Fight is getting ready to get out, and he's just like, "I don't have a spacesuit going into definitely damaged." Oh boy. He writes down his own little list. Spacesuit. Just like water, food, coffee, spacesuit.
So yeah, that's something that would definitely, pop up when you're all in the debarking, the disembarking hallway, the ramp area that leads off the ship there are 3 people in suits and Fida's hanging out. just there are rebreathers on the ship, so you have a mask you could cover your mouth with. It'll be hooked to like a small tank, but there's nothing to protect your body from potentially explosive decompression or anything bad that might happen.
Nothing except my new nanomachine friends, who definitely aren't like a horde of spiders living in my body that could possibly consume me at any time.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you didn't know? I thought everybody knew. I have nanomachines inside me, apparently, according to Rakam.
I'm assuming that nanomachines are definitely well and far beyond anything that Cordelia could have come across. Like, it would have been something in, like, some Jetsons kind of.
I think the closest analog you'd have to it would be probably you remember seeing a certain number of films which might have had nanomachines in them and how they could, well, benefit a technological person, savvy person in a suit of armor. Yeah, sure. That all sounds great. It was made for entertainment purposes. It's not actually real. And that's not what you're being told now.
Okay, so Vida, you have are you talking spiders, nanomachines, like they're little computers inside of you?
He just gives you a big shrug. He literally both hands out, each side. Just, I have no idea. Rakam told me I've got them inside me, and that they helped defend me against some kind of plant poison.
Huh.
Yeah. Also, he compared them to spiders, which I'm not super keen on, but
You can see that Cordelia's having this weird thought, and she's looking between Vida. She's looking between Vida and Tamarisk. Are they alive? Because Rakam is also a computer and is alive?
Well, Rakam is a sentient intelligence. I feel like that's a distinction that we might have to draw when it comes to
Doesn't sentience equal life?
That's an interesting philosophical question.
But it's just like, Cordelia, I really, that's above my pay grade. I fixed ships.
Well, then I trust me. Hey, the last time I saw this was in a movie that kept me awake for a week. I was not able to sleep after watching it. So I'm dealing with, I guess, pre-Horizon life, I suppose. And you see that she's also gesturing and shrugging, and her face is just crumpled in confusion. She's like, but I guess just seeing as this world that exists now, if electricity can be somewhat sentient, and you have tiny robot spider things inside of you.
Please don't say it that way. I don't like to think about it.
Okay, fair. Since you have something inside of you, can you, and she gestures to Tamarisk, talk to them and gestures towards Vida? And she makes spider motions with her hands.
Depends on if they have an actual language, and it's probably something we can figure out back on the ship once we've finished our mission over here. But it's an interesting question, one that I will certainly be ruminating on.
Excellent. Cool.
But it's just like, look, this is not I would like to never speak of this again. I don't want to think about having mechanical spiders inside me. What if one of them was gigantic and some guy in a cowboy hat rode it around? Terrifying. It's always been a childhood fear of mine.
And on that note...
Sorry, Captain. He just puts on the rebreather. He's just like, thumbs up.
Oh, we're not wearing rebreathers on this thing, my friend.
So the ramp lowers, and you hear it sort of echo out through the cargo bay. The cargo bay is fairly large by comparison, so I won't give specific dimensions, but I will say that it could probably fit about 10 to 12 peripheries in it, and that's not even stacking them on top of one another. So the lights of the periphery come off in a sort of a ring around the ship. You probably get a good 10 feet of good light, and then an additional 5 feet of, say, poor light. The lights on your helmets are probably 5 and 5, so 5 feet of real light and then 5 feet of sort of poor light. And so you all exit the ship, minus Kainat, and are standing in a cargo bay, which has like various things in it. So some of the things that are present, big piles of junk, which you've had experience with before. You see that a couple of these piles have what look like fairly clearly are starship parts. So there are like parts of fuselages, or there are armor plates, or maybe there's other mechanical pieces around here. You'd really have to sort of dig in and investigate to get an idea of what there were. There's also 2 or 3 real definitive lines that start at the edge of the loading door and work their way in. And these look like marks of arrival and departure. So it looks like this is carbon scoring from engines or maneuvering thrusters or something like that have been well worn enough where it's actually worn itself into the cargo bay floor, like the actual plates themselves. And there's a little bit of a sort of this residual bend there to those spaces. Yeah, and then there's junk piles just all over the place. This reminds you a little bit more of some of that space that you saw in the room. Not really sure where exactly it is, but where you fought that creature at, where there was just like piles of what you would call refuse. Now, some of that might be usable or recyclable refuse, but it is considered junk. And you can't see which way. You can't see beyond, say, 15 feet. So there's just darkness out there. Again, no overhead lights. Those of you like Fida without a helmet, you don't hear anything. You have a rebreathe around, so you're not smelling a ton, but you do smell oils, a little bit of a metallic taste, like in the air. That'll probably get past some of the side walls of the breather. The station does seem sturdy. Like you don't get any sway to any of the deck plates as you move around. And it looks like the Periphery is sort of parked in sort of the back left corner of the bay. That is partly because of the junk piles. And that's also partly because it was the safest, soonest place it could land. So you have that sort of 130-degree arc in front of you to investigate.
I guess I'm going to check out, knowing that we're short on parts, etc. I'm going to have a look at the pile of space junk. Just like the what look like ship parts and stuff. I've got a feeling they might be Third Horizon-ish in design, but couldn't possibly say.
Okay, so if you're seeking to... You find a junk pile just about 5 feet past the nose of the ship. That's one that you can investigate. There's another one that looks like off to your far right, towards the right side of the ship. They don't preclude you from getting deeper into the space, right? They're not so hilly and big that you couldn't walk between them. But if you want to investigate one of them, that's fine. It's basically a perception-based search roll to see if there's anything useful. Or I would also accept a technological-based roll to see if anything here was, quote, useful.
Sure. I'm going to make an argument that I can use my mechanical training and my tinker skill. I'm not going to put something together, but I'm going to look at them under the consideration as parts for tinkering.
Yeah.
Would be my... Basically, because I've got the tinker skill, which lets me completely repurpose items. So it's kind of like, I'm looking at stuff for its potential in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a roll. A 10.
Okay, I think that difficulty 3 is probably enough to reveal a few things. Some of the starship parts that are here are certainly Third Horizon parts. There are few and far between, but there are a few. You noticed a couple of power inverters that are 100% Third Horizon technology. The other stuff that's here is completely alien in its creation. You don't really know where or when it would be from. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't be useful, but you'd really have to sit down and do some hardcore investigation of like, what's the purpose of this? Like, where's the logic controller on this board? Well, how is it programmed? What language does it speak?
What happens if I put a current through it?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a ton of that's going to have to be done.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm definitely taking those, checking those inverters, making sure that they see if they're functional or not. I know that Amara's mom was on this ship, was on this space station. I just don't know what she was doing. So I know she was on the ship, on the space station. I don't know what she was doing. So I'm just kind of going to be like, I don't know if she was just removing broken parts or she was kind of outfitting her ship for something specific that I don't know.
Well, it's funny, but the rest of the crew has a good idea what Amara's mom was doing on the station now because they've been given that information. They might not remember it, but I do. No, so your mom had come here, and what you know she did do was she made it to the bridge and downloaded navigational information.
Yeah, kinda gave us that information, right?
She sure did.
When that information's related to fighting, he's just like, oh, it would help to have, a friendly face.
Aren't you a friendly face, Fida?
Looks at you like the rebreather is like really tight around his face. And you can see the red marks in his skin. And he's just like, looks at you over the pile of garbage. And he's just like, yes. And goes back to sorting.
And now that we've established that we're all friendly faces here on the space station that has no name.
I just hope that weird thing doesn't come back. Hopefully it'll be terrified at the sight of Cordelia's armor and not show up.
Right, friendly faces as Cordelia's standing there, just kind of looking around with weapon drawn, just scanning the area.
Yeah, it's good. If everyone else, because clearly Fida's been a little bit focused, if everyone else wants to give me a, we'll say difficulty 4 perception-based test, they can do so. Minus Kainat, of course, who is relaxing on the ship in the medical bay, trying to desperately work through some information in a data bank, probably. You can tell us what you're up to if you'd like.
Oh, I mean, I had assumed that the portable computer that I had brought, I had hooked up, and I'm just going over calculations with your comm, and we're trying to decrypt some of the stuff that I have faster on, the faster ship. He's a faster computer processor than the Nadir has.
Yeah, he'd probably actually want to work with you on the star system charts.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be looking to find a way for you to plug into the signaling station itself. So that way you could download the astrogation computer information that's here. And so that he could upload it to the periphery. It's like it's a task for the both of you. So that's what the two of you can be working on. Okay, perception rolls. How do we do?
I got a 12.
14.
Okay.
5.
Careful where you point that gun with your perception roll.
Hey, I'm looking in the general direction of where this thing would have been before. Might not be looking any new directions. She's assuming there must have been a nest, so she's just looking specifically for that one thing, probably not paying too much of an attention to, say, anything else.
So, Amara and Cordelia, you're over by this larger junk pile that's near we'll say the western side of the cargo bay. And you're not really coming across terribly much until you locate something that looks like a weapon. So in this junk pile, there is a curved, what looks like a pistol with a big curved face on it. Like a piece of, some sort of piece of shielding, perhaps, or an architectural sort of crescent to the front of this. It's definitely a weapon because there is a hand grip and you can see that there is a clear trigger. And it reminds you a little bit of the portal, that piece of technology that Oni used you saw them work and use, but it seems almost like it's older, like an ancient version of it. But you stumble across that. It comes up through one of the piles shifts and you can sort of see the outline of it.
I'm assuming that's Captain Amara that saw that, seeing as Cordelia's probably not looking in that direction.
Between the two rolls, yeah, but you're right next to her when she sees it. So if she, makes a wild stab for the weapon, you'll you'll notice.
I mean, if it's a pistol that can also portal you, I call claimsies on it. Like,
It's pretty cool.
that would be pretty cool.
It looks pretty nice. Yeah, can I touch it? Can I look at it?
Yeah, I hand it over to Cordelia.
Cordelia stows the big rifle and is checking it out. Because again, this is still far more advanced than anything else she's come to be aware of. So she's, even though it's ancient for them, but yeah, no, she's checking that out. So how do you make it? And she's kind of holding it up and away from where the others are.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, the mechanics of this seem relatively simple. The weapon doesn't have any power, but it looks like what you would pull back the top slide like you would on a couple of different types of weapons. It looks like there are a couple of knobs on the side that you have to sort of attenuate or move into some sort of calculated position. And the trigger guard is enormous. And it gives you this feeling like you could pull this trigger with your power armor on. So you wouldn't have to try to find a pencil or something like that or some small piece because the trigger guard is large. Either that or, and this is sort of the thought that might concern you, either that or whoever this was made for is much larger than a normal person.
Yeah. Do you think this belonged to either of those groups or from somewhere else?
It looked like something that Onyi might use. If you could have Fida take a look at it. He's our tech guru.
Okay, so I'm going to skip over to Tamarisk really quick. Tamarisk, you head to the space between the junk piles, and you find a really big metallic container. Think dumpster size, except that there's no sign of food refuse here. It does look pretty battered and beaten. It's like a regular dumpster like we would think. So probably, 4 feet or so, 5 feet or so wide, and then so many feet deep. But there's 2 slots on either side of it, which seems like maybe it was meant for a machine to lift and to move into different spaces. There's big blocky stones inside of it, like unrefined stone. And the stone is dark.
Captain, we've got some interesting rocks over here. Could be ore of some kind. Could be useful. I don't know.
Oh, great. Yeah. Anything we can use, we can take back to the Periphery.
Maybe Kainat can run some tests or something, know what it is. I'm not exactly the sciencey type.
That's a great idea. Are you able to lift it?
Can I at least take a sample of it, GM?
Yeah, so you could probably you'd have to get in there to get at some of the smaller pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got in or had some way of extricating a piece, sure. But any pieces that is reachable you're not sure how much it weighs, but they're big 2-hand pieces. So if it is ore, then it's probably fairly heavy.
I'll try to get in there and get a small piece because I don't want to even try carrying a large rock around. We've got other things to do.
Okay. You step in and reach down and grab a piece of it. And when you grab a piece of it, there's this powder that comes off of it and it coats your hand. Imagine picking up we'll just say a traditional pastry, which has been covered with powdered sugar. And it, of course, just a little cloud appears sort of when you grab it and there's dust. And the dust covers your hand.
Well, there's some kind of powder over here. Maybe a little worrying, considering everything on the planet tried to kill us. Hopefully this isn't corrosive. Looking down at my hands, making sure it's not eating away at my skin or anything.
It doesn't appear to be.
Okay. I'll take the smallest piece that I can and try to get out.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to get out. The dust does go a few places while you're getting out, but it sits there. And you're there, and you get out safely.
I see you found something too. While you're playing around, do you think I should just leave this in the ship? Come back? Kind of something to look at. Not that she doesn't have enough to look at.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And Maybe clean your hands off, sanitize them.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, just in general. Not that was the ulterior motive for going back, but,
Y'all really do like touching stuff, don't you?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. She just shrugs.
She shrugs, gesturing with this newfound weapon she has in her hand.
But covered in her power armor and all personal protective equipment.
Okay, so you go back and drop the rock off. I suppose the med bay is also kind of sort of the science lab at the same time. So it's gone back into its original configuration, which is sort of like a med bay with like a little corner that has the science lab, and the science lab being Kainat's computer and her in a chair with like a kit nearby if she wants to do some crazy science stuff. Just like the old days.
I found an interesting ore rock. I'm not sure what it is, but I was thinking you could maybe, while you're busy doing things, just set up a test or something, try and figure out what it is, see if it's useful before we bring a bunch of rocks on the ship, considering how annoyed Bracom was the last time we did that.
Yeah, I remember. Go ahead and just leave it on the floor. I'll get to it.
Sure. I'll leave the rock or whatever it is on the floor and go wash my hands up.
Fair enough. At the other end of this junk pile, John, as Fight is sifting through it, you do see two things. You end up coming into visual range with your lights, or lights that are nearby, with a door. It looks like a door that leads out of this room and down a hallway.
Hits the comms button. Team, I just found a door. It was behind a pile of junk. Give me a second here. I'm just going to check the control panel. Mike, I'm just going to see if there's power to the door control panel.
There is not.
There's no power, but he kind of turns and looks at the two power inverters he had, and he's like, we're charging those. Some juice left over, just like, capacity. There's no power in it, but give me a second. Take out my tools, just pop the panel, and have a look at it, try and see if I can maybe get this going with minimal destructive interference.
Sure, I like that for you. So I'll say that there is, moderate challenge to this task. I won't tell you the exact number, but just a moderate challenge. And so you'll have to tell me how you're going to overcome that.
Okay. So my plan is to, as I said, pop the panel, expose the wiring, realizing that this system is, whatever systems in this space station are probably on emergency power. I'm going to take out my little communicator that had, the old one, the one that has the thing in it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to release it into a new environment.
I love this for you. And really everyone.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And look, what else am I supposed to do with a sentient ball of electricity?
That's a great question. Honestly, it's a really great question. And I will give you an asset bonus for this roll. So we'll drop the target number by 1. So we'll say that it's a less than moderate task.
Okay. 13.
You inject, turn on, power up the communicator, and within an instant, a surge comes from the device and into the system. When it does, several lights, like overhead lights in the cargo bay, come on, and the door opens immediately. Actually, everything actuates on the door at the same time. So like the door rises, and at the same time the door rises, like the light overhead of the door comes on, and a string of lights on the floor appear. And again, those 2 or 3 overhead, we won't call them sodium lights, but that's sort of the style that they are. They come on. And then you start hearing fans, some airs being moved, like an air mover.
My thinking is that it probably didn't eat power on the nadir. But what it might have done was, because who knows how long it was in there, it might have wound up consuming the wiring. So I'm just like, well, this thing is much bigger. I don't know how long the upgrade wiring it's got. Hopefully it'll be happy here on this space station with lots of old electronics in it and old electricals, and hopefully it won't come out of the cables and zap me.
Hopefully, yes. So the rest of the crew that's out here sifting through piles, that's something that is impossible to miss, especially for the captain and, well, really everybody that's out here. It probably doesn't happen when Tamarisk is out here because they're inside the ship. But yeah, you're sort of very carefully staring at this weapon that you found in the light, Cordelia, and suddenly the overhead lights come on.
Who did that? What just happened? I guess she would say that into the communicator to see whoever else is listening within this.
Fighter's been quite happy with himself that he's done this, and then he hears the tone in Cordelia's voice. And he's just like, I got the door working, and seem to have powered up some other stuff as well, because of whatever way this is wired.
Great, cool. Where are you?
Oh, you just see like a little torch, a flashlight comes up over one of the piles and just gets waved around.
Cordelia starts making her way over there, just the clunk, clunk, clunk of her boots coming in closer.
Yeah, you see all sorts of things are lit up over here. Like there are caution LEDs in the floor. You've seen these before. I mean, you have them on the Nadir. This is like a traffic direction light. Okay, well, yeah, this makes a little bit more sense. Hey, wait a minute. Who turned these lights on?
I'm really impressed.
Did these come on their own just by proximity? Is that what this is set up like?
I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great.
I'm tinkering with an alien space station. Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure what's going to happen anytime I do something.
Well, just be careful because now that lights are on...
If you look past him, you do see that his communicator that you know has the electric thing in it is wired into the fucking door.
And she's not going to say anything out loud, but is going to silently, like the little kids trying not to get overheard by, in this case, parent Tamarisk, is just going to be pointing at that, and just making questioning gestures with her hand and shrugging.
He looks at it, looks at her, looks at it, looks at her, picks up a bit of scrap and puts it in front of the communicator.
Cordelia nods and does one of those things where she leans backwards to look around the pile where the others are, and then leans back in, turning off her communicator just to speak closer here in a whisper of just like, did it protest? Like, did it do anything else other than, and gestures at the lights?
Oh no, it seems to have just gone. I think it might... Look, it went to a farm on Coriolis. In Coriolis system, it's happy now. It can run and play there.
That's... Yes, just like Vermont. So...
I don't know what that is.
It's, from another horizon, I guess. Listen, what happens when Tamarisk wants to speak with the thing?
We tell it we sent it to a farm in Vermont.
Perfect. That's our story. And she sticks out her gauntleted hand with just the pinky out to go in like a pinky swear.
Recognizing this age-old symbol of secrecy, Fida agrees. It's just like, Vermont.
Vermont.
Yes, the Vermont episode. Okay, so Tamarisk, you drop the rock off with Kainat and then head back out. With the lights on now, wait, what? With the lights on, it's a lot easier to see here in the cargo bay. You can clearly see that Cordelia and Fida are up forward and left here, and they're by a door which is open. So maybe they've made some progress. The captain is still picking through probably some of the junk piles that are here. You do now see, Captain Mark, you do see the container that your mother was picking through on camera.
Oh, I will go over to that container and start rummaging through it.
So you rummage through the container a little bit, and you can see that there are just a cornucopia of different types of power supplies here. Some have power leads, some don't. Some are heavy, some are small, some are really long, meant for different types of objects. But it looks like she was, I don't know, maybe she was looking for a specific type, maybe something that still had a charge. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I'll grab a couple of the items. I maybe we can make something of them on the nadir or on the periphery.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. Okay. Other than that, it looks like the crew has found a couple of doors. Oh, hey, there's another door. So you notice another door on the other side of this big box container that your mom had been looking through.
Is it open?
Mm-hmm.
Did it open because Fida put an alien species inside the power container?
You don't know anything about that. No, you didn't hear this door open when the lights came on.
But it is open?
It isn't a door, it's a passageway. So like it's completely wide open.
Oh. Is Tamarisk back yet?
Yep, it looks like they're coming off the ramp.
So over my communications, I say, hey, I found a passageway over here. Fida, what'd you find on the other side?
I have just thought to look through the door. So far, I've been covering up my crime. He's just like, oh, it's a corridor. Looks like we could get through. It seems reasonably clear. It's not signing in a language that I can read, and I don't think there's actually any signs. But there are floor lights here.
There are. They lead into this room as well.
The same room that I'm looking into?
No.
Oh, okay.
So you're looking into a different room.
Okay.
And the lights that they found on the floor lead into this room.
I'm trying to think of what's this room? Well,
A little bit further in, which you can pick up just by standing there and looking intently. It looks like there are there's a room there, but you see a large octagonal airlock on the other side. So this isn't the airlock you came in. This looks more like a cargo airlock. And then you sort of, especially you, Fida, start to do like a little bit of deductive reasoning in that if this used to be or was temporarily used as like a ore processing facility, there are big airlocks in that room and there's lines on the floor that head in here where the cargo bay is. So maybe this is the way they took ore off planet and into here?
Let me know from our last visit that this place basically just stopped operations in the middle of a normal working day. So it had been operating as like a spaceport. So, I mean, pretty much anything could have come through here, which is an interesting proposition, given that, we're sorting through piles of junk that who knows what they are. So yeah, we've got an airlock there, and okay, neat.
So what's through my door?
Well, it's a short hallway, goes about 10 feet and then turns right. Are you going to continue down the passageway?
Not by myself. I know how that goes. In the communicator, if Tamarisk is in speaking distance, I will say, hey Tamarisk, come with me. Motion them over.
Sure thing, Captain.
And over the communicator, I will say, hey, Cordelia and Fida, I don't know if you want to continue looking through the items in this cargo bay, but I found this really neat hallway that we could maybe take a look down, unless your door leads somewhere.
No, Captain, our door leads to an airlock, which is good to know, but it seems to be for some kind of cargo freighter or something. I guess it's industrial. Looks pretty well used.
We can be right over there.
Yeah, I think yours has probably got more potential for food, water, etc.
Mm-hmm. So if you head over towards where the captain is, now the befuddling moment. You head over there, and with the available light now even brighter between the headlamps on Cordelia's suit and the other ambient light in the area, you reveal a third door in between these two. This one looks more like a personnel door, Vida. It's much smaller than the other ones.
Poke and prod at the panel.
It's lit up now.
Ah. Oh, there's power to the door now from my little trick with the inverters, as he just turns and looks to...
Yes, the inverters.
And pushes the button to open the door.
Yeah, it opens right up.
Oh, well, there we go. Fida's standing in front of the door as he pushes the button down, and then he remembers that thing whose tail he had to wrestle even.
Yes.
And he's just takes a step, so he's standing like slightly, not square with the door, so that anything would hit him, like pokes his head in and shines his light around.
Okay. You shine the light around. It's a relatively short hallway, which opens up into another space. You see what looks like some garbage, maybe some junk in that room on the floor, piled in corners, maybe some clothes or what might have been clothes at one point, and then little bits of rock, pebbles, and dust are on the floor here.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn and look and just be like, Captain, I'd like permission to... This looks like some kind of maybe a employee changing room or shift handover room. I'd like to have a quick look.
Yeah, take Cordelia with you.
On it.
Yeah. Nobody's going alone.
Okay, so I like this idea. So we'll just have Cordelia and Fida going through this doorway, and then Captain, are you and Tamara's going to go through the other one?
Oh, yes, we are.
Fabulous. Isn't that fun? It's a good way to split the party. Okay, so Tamarisk and the captain head down that hallway. It turns right. There are 2 doors in that hallway on your left-hand side. These look like regular humanoid-sized doors. I think that's probably the best way to put it. There's lettering on this door, or glyphs or something in a line that sits between these pictograms or letters sit between 2 bold pieces of orange like artwork or lines. It could be a language, it could be, who knows, a sign.
Well, that's interesting.
Can you read it?
I don't know. Take a long, hard stare at it, try and piece together anything that might be familiar.
You stare at it for a minute or so, and some of the images, some of the letterings here, these strange symbols begin to move a little bit. And it feels like this is someone's quarters. That's the feeling that you get from it. The impression, almost this psychic impression that you get, is that this is like someone's bedroom or bunk room.
This is someone's personal quarters, I think, Captain.
Well, probably was somebody's personal quarters. Are we able to go in?
Yeah, you push the button, but nothing happens. There's like a button on the door. There's these wide beige like ovals by the side of the door. That was the button that you think Fida hit, maybe. But nothing happens when you do it. There's not even a chime or a light or anything.
Keep going.
Did you say there were 3 oval buttons?
I said there were 2. There's 2 doors in this space, but there's only 1 per door. Second door has a very similar reaction. Very similar, but not the same letters and symbols on this door as well. So perhaps there is some sort of personal designation to them. And at that point, the passageway bends to the left.
I guess we'll keep going until we find a door that opens for us.
You keep going, and you get to this hallway here is about maybe 30 feet long. And about midway down it, there's another doorway. It's not a door, but there's just an archway there. And inside you see what looks like maybe it's about the size of a conference room. It looks like there's a table in the center, and there were places to sit, but like the table's been broken in half and something has chewed through one side of it, big bite marks in it. And then there is a big clump of what you would probably call nesting material in one corner.
Is there any animals or beings? Creatures? Is there any eggs or anything in the nesting material, or is there any like paperwork or anything or data pads on the floor?
No data pads on the floor, no paper that you see, but there is something that catches Tamarisk's eye at the opposite side of the room, and that is a long series of what might be glyphs or pictures or letters in the same style that you had out there. And there must be 50 of them.
Go run my hands over them and try and... I still don't know how this language thing works, like why my brain is doing this or how, but I'm going to try and connect the same way I did before.
Okay. Is there a rule for that, or is it just something that happens to you?
It just happens, I think. Yeah, it's an enabler skill.
Cool. We do like the enabling. So you run your hands over them and you get images that come into mind. And you see several different types of people working in this place. Most of them are Anyi. So blue-skinned, not so much tall, but definitely blue-skinned. And the strangest thing is that no one is talking. You see them moving around in here. And you remember from your contact with Oni that that being did not speak, via their mouth at all. They connected with you mentally. And then some of them are sitting around at this table and they are consuming food. Looks like some sort of vegetable matter. And they're completely at peace with saying nothing at all. And the relief of them being together, the community sensation that you get is pretty pleasing. It's warm. It feels like that this was their home at one point. And the text, these images that were placed into the wall, are a remembrance of all of the struggle that they went through to get to here, and a warning to not forget how simple it is for difficult times to return when vigilance is not maintained. That's the impressions that you get.
Some kind of memory, like reminder. Not quite a motto, Captain, but a reminder of good times and the potential for bad ones. It's hard to put into words, but they're very much I guess the word would be telepathic species.
So, do you know what kind of good times they had? I mean, does it tell you the glyphs, or?
Got images of eating together, being communal.
Okay, so much like we as a species would do as well.
Yes.
Well, it's good to know that they're, more like us than, we would have, or I would have thought previously, because I'm not telepathic.
Okay, so that's your impression of that space. So Fida and Cordelia, this room seems like a locker room. Cordelia, you immediately get the gym locker room feel from this. There's like lockers and benches and sweaty clothes in here, probably. I mean, it's seen better days, probably, 30 or 50 years ago, but.
Yeah, Cordelia will go to the first locker and open it just to see what sort of storage this is.
It's storage that's meant for what look like some type of suits, some type of space suits here.
Do these look like protective gear in the same sense of space, like to go out into the black or just?
No, this is probably just PPE for handling the ore.
Okay.
Gosh, I hope the ore wasn't horribly poisonous or anything.
It's a good thing nothing jumped out at me from the inside of this. Huh. Are there any sort of papers or anything, if this seems to be some kind of, whether or not papers or badges, just any sort of indicator, perhaps even of any type of writing that is here?
Yeah, there is imagery, like I mentioned before in some of the other spaces, glyphs and whatnot, that you could certainly deduce is writing or is text or signs and stuff like that. But deciphering what they are would take quite a while. You'd have to take examples of them, but certainly something you could glean.
Yeah, I think that's what she would want to do, especially if this seems to be where the workmen may have been. Just any other further information that we would have had, if anyone's got a nicer looking locker that has more stuff in it, that sort of thing. She's just trying to, she's poking about, like she's just straight up poking about for anything that seems to indicate more knowledge than less, if that makes sense.
You don't see any differential between the lockers that are here. Like there's no foremans or something like that. It looks like they don't have that here, or maybe there's another space where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Cordelia has a moment looking around in here, and just like a dog, the head will tilt in the helmet and just goes, thinking it out loud, though meaning to, I wonder what their toilets look like. And she goes to go and see what this alien toilet would look like. Just if this is a locker room. That seems like where it would be.
You head out from here, and you actually end up heading down a small hallway, which leads to a room which is segmented into fourths. And there are waste areas here, and they don't so much look like toilets as you might see them, but they are spaces. They're each one has walls, like from about 6 feet high or so all the way to the floor. They're completely private, and when you open one, you can tell that like the rest of the dirt and the grime and the dust that's here has not gotten inside these spaces because they're sealed.
Does it seem like this is a sort of place that would have water then?
It seems like it would, yes. You don't see any sinks or faucets or anything like that. You do see several small devices that are inside these spaces that are like attached to the wall, but you don't know, like one's a box and one's like a triangle.
So she's definitely poked around here and would wave Fida over. I think this is their bathroom, but I don't know what that does. And she's pointing to the weird shapes on the wall.
Being one to interfere with weird alien shapes on a wall, start poking and prodding.
Okay.
Literally doing what I did what I did previously on other planets where I found alien stuff. Putting my hands in shapes and applying pressure.
So one of them doesn't move at all, but it does seem like there is a vent. So maybe something comes out of it. The other one does seem to move in and out, but there's no other action in it other than that. You can surmise that maybe it just at one point dispensed some sort of cleaning solution, and then this vent is likely what finished cleaning, but...
Yeah, he's just like, I think it's a dryer and a dispenser for maybe a cleaning agent.
But no water, it seems.
No, maybe they had some kind of maybe what they dispensed was a pre-mixed thing and you had to activate it with some, maybe the heat activated it. If it was hot air.
Well, it was worth a shot.
Oh yeah, definitely worth a shot. I see what you were thinking.
I was also just curious because I have no idea how I would use that over there.
Yeah, no, that's when we found an alien toilet where we weren't sure that it was a toilet. I'm still not even sure it was a toilet, but we did find one of their sinks, and those aliens had a sink.
Okay, so we can hope that maybe we'll find another alien sink somewhere.
I mean, one can hope.
And she'll start leaving from that room.
Okay, so if you head out from that room and head the only other direction you could without going back, you'll end up in a space that has some clear lockers with definitive suits. So these are suits for space. Going out in the black, there's probably 10 of them. And then at the far end of that room, you see two what look like semicircular or sort of bowed doors. And that sure looks like the same sort of elevator you've been in here.
Good to know. Priority for me is going to be getting a new spacesuit. Finding one that fits might be a challenge, but I'm willing to take two and do some customization work if I have to. Do all sorts of stuff. No one said mechanical doesn't mean I can't sew.
Okay. You're going to try to piece together a couple of suits into something that you could wear?
Yeah, kind of. And just like look at them for seals and try and take ones that work. And then I'm like, oh wait, are these even close to working on my proportions? Even human proportions? I seem to recall our friend was spindly.
Yeah, a bit. So it's likely that you could use like their thigh pieces as maybe arm covers. It's going to take quite a bit of retrofitting for you to be able to, and like retrofitting and resealing for you to use their stuff. So what I'll have you do is make me a challenge rating 5 roll if you can find the parts to make your own suit.
Okay. I would like to expend a point of intellect.
Okay.
Because I'm just like, I think that's the thing that's going to be needed for this, because just, making sure these suits are still up to snuff, and recognizing which parts I can and cannot use. It's just torsos on all my bits, and then a couple of torsos stitched together for my torso. Coated with silicone. An 8. No spacesuits for fighter.
No, it does not seem so. You can see the struggle that he's having, Cordelia. They're just not big enough.
Wait, I forget that I have the helpful.
You are beneficent.
I am beneficent. I am helpful. Whenever you help another character, that character gains the benefit as if you were trained, even if you are not trained or specialized in the attempted task. So are you specialized in?
This was the long shot anyway.
I'm going to pull us a little bit to a close, but before I do, I would like to have Kainat make me a, we'll say, difficulty 6 roll to access the main system here on the signaling station. You'll have a single asset, which you may put to bear, which is Rakam.
Okay.
Rakam will help us assist you with the data connection, and then you'll have a rating 5 challenge now with that asset in place to gain access to the astrogational information here.
19.
Okay, so that's a minor effect. You plug in and begin working, and you begin harnessing the data that's here. And the astrogation computer that's aboard this ship is centuries old, but it does have an awful lot of information inside of it, not just the 6 planets that were found initially by Amara's mother. It does appear that there are records of the types of ships which have docked with this station before. And so I will end up giving you a manifest of several different types of non-horizon types of ships that you will be able to get some sort of intelligence on.
Okay.
Which is a sort of mother lode of information. And with Amara and Tamarisk investigating sort of this last portion of the station down here, we are going to step away while our party is split. I'm sure nothing terrible will happen to them because this is a space station that's just nice and peaceful and everybody's okay. So we'll pick it up next episode with continued investigation, and we want to thank you for listening, and we hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks, and have a great night.